It is almost a guarantee, a ironclad guarantee at this point that Boris Johnson almost certainly will not last a year unless somehow Boris somehow manages to, shall we say, become the truly unsinkable Titanic after hitting that iceberg. But the big question we must even ask today, this is why we're going over this article, is what is this leadership election going to be like? And I've said before, it is going to be fierce. It is going to be incredibly fierce and far, far more competitive than we have ever seen in the elections of especially like 2019 and 2016. This will be hugely competitive. You have so many factors now in the Tory party now coming into play. How are the different research groups and the grouping is going to come together and affect this race? Who will have a bigger voice when it comes to endorsing candidates? There's going to be so much going on here. It's going to be incredibly competitive. Not only that, but we are going to see some huge mudslinging. I'm seeing some serious mudslinging. I'm talking proper blue on blue action here, probably the likes of which we haven't seen for years, or even never even seen in this type of contest before. But this race is going to be very, very hotly contested, and it is going to happen probably at some point this year. Even other Tory MPs have been saying, yeah, there's going to be a leadership election this year. So when we are now at that point, as we were with Theresa May, we know there's one coming. And it's just a matter of when, not if, when it happens. So as always, before we do jump into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And also, the YouTube memberships are open as well. So thank you very much to all the people who do support the channel that way. So let's go diving into this. This comes from the Yorkshire Bylines with the title of The Kingmakers. Who will decide the next Conservative leadership election? If anything has become clear in the last few weeks, it is that senior Conservatives believe a leadership election is imminent. Already, the main candidates are setting out their stalls. Allies of Priti Patel have briefed that she is, quote, ready to become leader. Liz Truss is poised for obvious photo ops, while Rishi Sunak's ambitions have been clear for quite a while. Throw in the letters to the 1922 committee and a public statement from the committee's treasurer, Sir Geoffrey Clinton Brown, that the leadership challenge has to be on the cards, and it is clear that sooner rather than later, Boris Johnson is going to be replaced as Prime Minister. The leadership election, in many ways, will be an awkward one for the party. Whoever is elected will have to inherit the prime ministership at a new height of the pandemic, with numerous ongoing inquiries and a fractious and unpopular party. To further complicate this, in this fact, there are now no obvious candidates for the leadership. The 2016 election largely featured the flight of the Cameroons and the implosion of the main vote Leave candidates, leaving Theresa May unchallenged. And at the other extreme, 2019 was largely a managed coronation for Johnson, with some parts of the party in a very doomed attempt to try and stop him. In 2021, this may very well be the middle ground between those. There is no obvious successor to Johnson, but several candidates, namely Truss and Sunak, seem prepared to undergo the rigorous and tight contest. In such a competition, the endorsement of key figures in the party will be crucial. So what is more interesting than speculating on the runners and the riders is those whose opinion will have to win over to be elected. The nomination from MPs are essential for the Conservative leadership election. The two most popular candidates among the parliamentary party and those ones who make it to the final round are the ones voted on by the membership. Dozens of MPs will thus need to be won over, and the endorsement of a few key individuals could make or break a campaign. But who are these kingmakers, and what do they want, and who are they likely to back? The last year has been very notable for the emergence of several groups modelled after the notorious European Research Group, or the ERG. Jake Berry, the former Northern Powerhouse Minister and founder of the Northern Research Group, former Chief Whip Mark Harper, formed the Anti-Lockdown COVID Recovery Group. Sir John Hayes founded the Culture Warring Common Sense Group. Then throw in the more informal groupings such as Bob Seeley's Anti-Planning Group, the Blue Wall MPs, and Esher McVeigh's more long-standing blue-collar Conservatives. These blocks of MPs have demonstrated a very remarkable discipline in voting, and endorsing of their chairs might sway anything from about 20 to 50 MPs in the direction of a leadership candidate. So what do they want? Each group will want their own policy concessions. Berry is likely to want more investment in the Redwall constituencies. Harper is presumably to try and seek a commitment to avoid future lockdowns, and Seeley may use the opportunity to kill off any further planning reforms. Just as many were ERG members, such as James Clively, Michael Gove, and Sajid Javid, enjoyed promotions after the backing of Johnson in 2019, so too may many of these groups now seek to advance their members' interests with the candidate they endorse. The ministerial positions are particularly for the Northern MPs elected back in 2017 and 2019 may very well be in order. So who will they endorse? Jake Berry has had a very fractious relationship with Sunak and will very likely back any candidate to beat him. But the Chancellor may appear more enticing to the fiscally conservative Harper and likewise to Seeley, who may look to a more Cameroonian tradition with Sunak could very happily embody. But what about other rivals? Even though it was very evident for the start of the 2019 leadership election that Johnson would be the eventual winner, a host of candidates declared to boost their own personal profile. Amongst all the candidates in 2019 who weren't openly hostile to Johnson received promotions afterwards, and their endorsements helped to solidify his status as the inevitable winner. Many more middling figures in Johnson's administration and on the backbenchers have been speculated to run. Education Secretary Nadeem Zawar, Health Secretary Chair Jeremy Hunt, Education Secretary Sajid Javid, and of course the former Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab are among the names being thrown out. Zawawi in particular is one of the very few MPs who have been untouched by scandal and who presided over the vaccination rollout, which will be a very coveted endorsement. So what will they want? Presumably each will be seeking promotion from the candidate that they back, given the overwhelming chance that it will be Sunak and Truss going head to head in the membership vote. It is very likely that they both will be for the positions of Foreign Secretary and Chancellor would be vacant after the election. And for MPs like Javid and Zawawi in particular, they will be very tantalizing prizes. In terms of which candidate they're likely to endorse at the moment, it is relatively unknown. But of course, it's not just them. There are, of course, the former Tory grandees as well, the former prime ministers. Two former leaders, Theresa May and Ian Duncan Smith, still sit on the Conservative benches, and their support will boost a campaign. What's more, there will be many members of the party with stature who are unlikely or unable to run, but whose endorsement could carry some weight. Ruth Davidson has already hinted that she might support, and Michael Gove might be hesitant to run as a leader for a third time. So what will they want? Many of the Tory grandees may well just hope for some return to normal leadership after 2 years of the very cult of Johnson. Grove and Davidson will be looking for a leader who can save the union and deliver for the left behind regions, and Grove in particular will be looking to try and maintain his position in steering the levelling up policy. So who will they back? Many of these Tory grandees have been more critical of Sunak than Truss, and Grove has clashed with him over COVID policy, May on fiscal matters, and Duncan Smith over universal credit. And meanwhile, May in particular has talked up Truss as the potential third Conservative leader and Prime Minister. These endorsements may come later in the game, and some of the examples mentioned earlier. But if the contest comes down to Truss versus Sunak, it may well be that several of the grandees favour the former. So, what does this mean for any potential leadership election? It is impossible to tell this early on who will actually win the future leadership election. But we do not know yet the exact selection of candidates and the circumstances of the race will be, or how each candidate will actually perform under the scrutiny that such campaigns entail. However, analysing the behaviour of the influential backbenchers, ministers, and grandees of the Conservative Party may well give an indication of how well each of the forerunners is viewed among the party's establishment. While we may know a lot about potential candidates to succeed Johnson, it will be to a large extent a coalition which they will build to win power in the party that will dictate how and for whom they will govern. And that is completely 100% true at this moment. I've been saying this for a while. It's all about who these groups are going to end up supporting. And I think at the moment it is going to come down to Truss versus Sunak. Ultimately, that's what it will come down to in that final leg of the race. And here's the thing. If it does come down to that, and of course, again, there's no telling about how Liz is going to react to the very hard light and intense scrutiny that these campaigns really do entail. Ultimately, when you look at the popularity ratings, Liz is beating Rishi by a country mile. She is the most popular member of the Conservative Party, not only by the non-party members, but of the members of the Conservative Party by a country mile. She is leading the pack. So if it comes down to that, she will have a massive advantage. But obviously, how will the campaign go? How will it unfold? Those are two very big questions. And of course, of these different groups and factions, who's going to back who? And because we've got such a large Conservative Party, there are going to be losers. And we have seen the Conservative Party be very, very salty when it comes to losers. So there's no guarantee that these losers may remain quiet on the backbenches, that they could very well decide that they want to cause trouble for their new leader. So, and yet again, you will have a massive split in the Tory party. And I've said before that these cracks will not go away, no matter how many times they try and wallpaper over them. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. That needs to say is going to make for very, very fun watching a future Conservative leadership. That is for certain. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.